How? This is a question forwarded by Shenzhen University. Hello, Professor. I am a student who just finished the Gaokao. I've heard that the adult world is full of open-ended questions. How should we face a future with no standard answers? Thank you for your thoughtful question, and it's one which most students, not just in China, but around the world, face when they finish their time at school and then go out into the world, either to university or into jobs or whatever. But I think the problem and uncertainty or anxiety is greater perhaps in China than in most places. Chinese education traditionally, and still to a considerable extent today, is very full of certainties. You are taught really largely to accumulate factual information and to make minor criticisms and revisions to that, but you are not, on the whole, placed in front of things to which there is no certain answer. So this is changing, of course, but this was the model of Confucian education for many centuries. It was to train bureaucrats, administrators, who needed to have all the great learning of the Chinese past at their fingertips in order to make judgments about practical matters and in legal cases. So it wasn't to teach them what we consider to be the main aim of education, which is to think for yourself and to sort out difficult problems. And that kind of education continues to a considerable extent, of course, in China. There's an element of that in what I learned at my schools. We were taught the rules of languages, of mathematics, and literature and geography and so on, and these were to help you sort out practical questions. But we were also, particularly from about the age of 15 or 16, when we went into our what we call a sixth form, we were taught to face questions to which we discovered there were no certain answers. I remember a question on what were the origins of the Renaissance, and when I read around the subject, I found there were many people who had different views on the origins of the Renaissance, none of them very convincing, and so I ended up saying, we don't really know. There is possibly this, possibly that. And there were many other essays like that. So we were being taught about a world beyond school where we would face difficult choices. Things would be roughly right, but not absolutely right. And that was a good preparation, and it continued into university on a larger scale when this open and uncertain world was placed before us in our teaching and in our daily life. So English education helps you more in this, but it doesn't resolve the basic problem, which is that you are right. The adult world is filled with not black and white, but grey, with things that are more or less true, right, good, whatever. And you have to pick your way along those. Now, while I said that China had a disadvantage in its education system to a certain extent, it also has an advantage because greyness, in-betweenness, more or less inness, both andness, are very strong features of Chinese culture from the earliest records that we have. And therefore, with my encounter with many of my young Chinese friends and also reading about Chinese philosophy and history, I can see that the Chinese have a great ability to hold what we consider more or less impossible positions at the same time and to mediate between them. Always the effort is to find the extreme positions and then move towards the centre, which balances the advantages and disadvantages of the two approaches. So there's always been this idea that we live with uncertainties, divided opinions, and practical obstacles, but we can negotiate between them. So that's a help, I think, in Chinese thought. You are not expecting absolutes. Our Western culture has a great belief in absolutes. We believe, or are told we believe, in things like truth. In our legal system in England, we have to take an oath. I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as if there was this thing called the truth, whereas, of course, there are many truths and they conflict with each other. But you don't have that kind of belief to such a large extent, I believe, in China. So we believe in absolutes derived partly from our monotheistic gods and our Greek logic, whereas China believes in fluctuating yin-yang, moving, grey, in-between solutions, and that is, I think, a great help. The main thing is that adult life, like all of life, but more so, is full of uncertainties, and at the moment in China these uncertainties are perhaps magnified for various reasons. One is the rapid growth of technology, AI, and the internet and everything else is throwing all ideas into confusion and competition in a way that wasn't present in my growing up. I could absorb these uncertainties slowly through books and conversations, but now they're flooding into your mobile phone and at a much faster rate, and the world is technologically shifting, and it has consequences on all the other aspects of life, so that things that you grew up with, or your parents particularly grew up with as certainties, are questionable. Secondly, the influx of Western models and ideas is clearly unsettling for an ancient civilization like China. It's adapted amazingly. So many of our social norms and assumptions about the relations between men and women, between parents and children, are now questioned in my own culture, and these questionings are spreading all over the world, including to China. So you are facing an uncertain world. Don't be fearful of it. Human beings have adapted to uncertainty for thousands of years, and you will do so likewise. And if you come across such uncertainties, one thing I do is I write down the arguments for and against, for example, some position which I'm not sure about, and then I can soon see what I should do. So try and objectify, discuss your uncertainties with your friends and your family and openly, and with your teachers, and you'll find you can manage perfectly well. But be prepared for an increasingly open and uncertain world, which both is a challenge but also a form of freedom for creativity, enjoyment, and the pursuit of new knowledge, new ways to face the world, and new friendships and delights. So good luck and 谢谢。